Ever since the Nintendo Switch conference, it's been can't stop, won't stop with all the comments and news following up from the presentation, as of course the industry is still reacting to the Switch's presentation, and we've had various developers and publishers weigh in, and now we've had yet more comments from Nintendo's very own Reggie, Phil and me, who spoke in an interview published by Time, and he said that he feels Nintendo's quote-unquote secret formula is to make smart choices and get lucky. Now, of course, the full interview with Time will be linked in the description below, but the segment I'm most interested in is, quote, "The marketplace is absolutely mercurial. And what I love about our company is that we create a vision and then we go all in. When we launched the Wii, I mean, again, people look back and say 100 million units. It was easy. Believe me, I was there. And it wasn't easy at all. We had tough conversations, internal debate, like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to bring it to life? What are we going to do? And what I would say is that we made a lot of smart choices and we were lucky. And that is Nintendo history. We make smart choices and we are oftentimes lucky. The decision to hire Mr. Miyamoto, we were lucky. The decision by Mr. Miyamoto to create Donkey Kong as a replacement to an arcade game that was failing in the marketplace was on one hand brilliant to ask him to do it, but we were lucky that it was Donkey Kong and that it was successful. What we're working hard to do is to make smart choices with Nintendo Switch, and once again to be fortunate that the marketplace responds in a positive way. Now, it's not exactly wrong to say that they have taken gambles and have got unlucky in the past, but of course they've also had bad rolls as well, as we saw with the Wii U. Yes, the Wii was very lucky and it did insanely well, but it wasn't all luck, you know. It was clear messaging, it was easy to understand what the Wii was, and obviously it had a huge amount of support for casual games, which, given the audience for that particular console, was a very smart choice indeed. But, you know, you could also make an argument of, like, smart choices, really? What about the Wii U? You know, what about your other failed projects? And of course, for every smart decision, there's probably a lot of not so smart decisions as well going behind it. Many would argue that the pricing of the Nintendo Switch is not so smart a decision and is definitely having a negative impact on people's feelings about the console, at least from what I can see. Now, again, there is more comments made by Reggie in the interview with Time, so I suggest you check it out in the description below. But I have some more Switch-related stuff to get to before you do that. Now, Super Bomberman R was announced last week for the Switch, and it was originally listed at a eye-watering £60 or £59.99, which is obscenely expensive for a game. Like, even the most AAA of AAA games will be like £45 max. Yes, it'll be $60. But, you know, maybe 47 if you're one of the more expensive places, but it's never been above 50 ever, as far as I can see. So, for this particular game to be that expensive, or for any game to be that expensive, is ridiculous, and especially this game, it didn't go down well. But Konami, of course the company who own it, have cut the price by £10, and will retail for £49.99. Now, online shops will still be showing the £59.99 price for the game, but Konami did say that they will be altering that price quite shortly. To be honest, like, as great as the fact is that they've recognised that £60 was far too expensive, I would argue that 50 is also far too expensive for, you know, what is essentially a Bomberman game. You know, Bomberman is great and all, but is it worth £50? I mean, it's arguably not really. I mean, I would say it's £30 at most, really. But, you know, value proposition is going to vary from person to person, but I'm sure most would agree that 50 is still too expensive for Super Bomberman R, but I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on that. Now, we have yet more comments from Reggie, to go back to him for a minute, as he spoke with Pro Jared after the Nintendo Switch event, and again, I won't be going through all of the interview. His video will be linked in the description below if you want to give it a watch. I suggest you do so. It's definitely worth a watch. And the topic I want to discuss is the fact that he and Nintendo are confident that the Switch will not be lacking in third-party support like the Wii U very much was. And he said, quote, "What third parties want is a large, growing install base, a development environment that's easy for them to work in. They want the ability to monetize their content, whether on the initial sale or downloadable content. That's what they want, and we are not able to deliver that fully on the Wii U. We are going to be able to deliver that fully with Nintendo Switch. With our launch, with our own first-party games, we'll sustain momentum and create the opportunity for third parties." And I have one last thing to finish up with before we round up this Switch roundup, I guess, and it's that we have another addition to the launch lineup for the Switch, and it is a fairly surprising addition of the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. Seems like a strange choice for a Nintendo system. Of course, Binding of Isaac has been on Nintendo systems in the past. It had a bunch of problems getting Afterbirth on the 3DS, so it is a little surprising to see it here on the Switch, but the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus will be launching alongside the Switch in North America, and it's going to cost $39.99 at both retail and digitally. Now you might be wondering, well, what's the value of that? Because obviously Afterbirth Plus is Rebirth plus the Afterbirth DLC plus then the Afterbirth Plus DLC. So it's a game then plus 2 expansions basically is what we're getting here. The Binding of Isaac Rebirth and all of the DLC included, so again Afterbirth and Afterbirth Plus, comes to roughly $35.97 or £25.97 on Steam. So it is a little bit more expensive than what you would be paying otherwise, but not terribly so. And let's not forget that the base game itself is still £10.99 or $14.99 on platforms such as the PS4, Xbox One and so on, with the expansions costing about £8 or $11 each, so it isn't actually that expensive when you keep that in mind. So it is slightly more expensive than what you pay on Steam, but only by about $3 or so it's not actually that expensive when you think about it. And if you buy the physical copy, then obviously you get the disc and everything else as well. Now, while we have again seen Binding of Isaac on Nintendo platforms before, it does still seem a strange fit because, well, it's the Binding of Isaac. It's not exactly family friendly, let's put it that way. It is again about the trials of an abused child fighting the physical manifestations of the horrors that he faced at the hands of an abusive mother, and a bunch of other like philosophical stuff that's quite disturbing in places. I mean, I love the Binding of Isaac, fantastic game, been playing the hell out of Rebirth lately myself, but yeah, not family friendly. But you've heard my thoughts. What are your thoughts on not only the pricing of the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus on the system, but everything else I've discussed here in this video? As always, the interview with Pro Jared and Time will be linked in the description, and let me know your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for watching, your support is really appreciated, and I'll see you next time.